Hey, and welcome to this video where I will be doing the post work on this flower I shot a little earlier. If you have not seen that video, you can find it on our channel. You might want to check that out as well. So I'll just jump right into it. I did a little focus stack, so I'm gonna stack these three images. And I pulled them into this software called Serene Stacker, which is the stacking software I've been using for years. Really happy with it. And so I will just get stacking. Let the software work its little magic. And we will end up with one image that has my entire object sharp. Can check it out. Looks good. So I'll just go ahead and save this TIFF file with the rest of them. There we go, and we can go ahead and quit that, and I'll open that file up in Photoshop. All right, here we are. This is the image. So first thing, I'll make a duplicate layer where I will be doing the retouch. I always like to keep the background layer intact, so I can always go back. And first things first, I think I will, to get rid of this, I do know that I will be replacing the background since I shot separate backgrounds. So I don't really need to care about all this. I just need to get rid of whatever's in the way of my object. So I like to start with cleaning up the lines and then getting rid of the piece. And I also need to get rid of the fishing line over here. So, like I said, I will clean up the lines first, and then I will use frequency separation to get rid of this. So I'll get a piece of the edge from over here that I can use. There we go. Layer mask, and I will paint this in. We get a nice edge here. Great. I will flatten that. And same procedure over here. That will probably work. So I'll put a layer mask on that and paint this edge in. A little bit off, nudge. Looks good. There we go. And here, I think I'll just use the clone stamp. I always like fixing the edges and lines first. Makes it easier to go in with like a healing brush or something after. The edges are always harder for those tools. go. Now I can go ahead and try the I think that is looking pretty good. I will leave it at that for now. And just for the sake of it, I'll just get rid of this for now. Okay, so I find that when getting rid of stuff in an area that has like a gradient and good amount of texture, I find that using frequency separation is usually the best, and I do have a macro for that, which I'll just run. For those who don't know, frequency separation is a technique in Photoshop where you basically divide a pixel layer into two layers, where one holds the structure and the details, and the other one holds the lightness and color and all that. And this allows you to work separately on the two. I'll show you a little bit here how it works. I do plan on making a video on this subject, which I'll hopefully get around to. And there are plenty of videos and information about this technique online if you want to check it out. But hopefully I'll make a video on that soon. Which gives me low and high layer. So if I have a look at the high layer, I see that this is the texture, and underneath I have this. So I'll start with cleaning up the texture, getting rid of this. Use a hard stamp tool. Let's have a look. See, that got rid of the texture of it, and now I'll go into this low layer where I could try maybe the patch tool. Should be able to do a good job with this. Yes, and let's look before and after. That looks pretty good. Yes. Maybe have a look at the flower as well. I think it will do. So I'll flatten this again. So what we have so far is this. Actually, forgot about the fishing line. So let's do that with the frequency separation as well. Get rid of that texture over here. Here we go, into the low layer. And let's grab this. And same over here. And like magic, it's gone. Nice. I think that's it for the frequency separation. So now I'll flatten that down. So before and after. And I noticed the flower, which I think it looks very good, but it does have this little hole going on over here, and it might look a little better and a little rounder if we could fill this in with a petal. So I think that this petal could act as a filler over here. So I'll use my pen tool to cut this out. Like that. Make a selection, a little bit of feathering on that selection, and cut out that petal. So now we have one that we can use. And I'll transform it, turn it. I want it somewhere around here, but I of course want it to be behind the other ones. So I'll put this in a folder, and on this folder I will create a mask. Again with the pen tool that I really like. Create this mask. Something like this. There we go. Selection, a little bit of feathering, and fill with white, and there we have. And now I can move this around within this mask in this folder and see what I think looks good. Maybe something like that. I think it helps with the shape of the flower. And it may need a little bit of like a shadow to make it feel more in place. So I'll do a curves, put that in multiply which darkens it, and just paint in a little bit of this so it creates like a shadow going on. I think that looks pretty good. So I will just decide that I'm happy with that and flatten this down. Okay, so I think, the stem has a bit of a weird shape, and I was thinking about giving the whole stem more of a bendy feel. So let's give that a try. I will make like a rough selection of the flower. But still pretty tight, because I will be using the puppet warp tool to see if we can play around with this. So I'll cut that out and use the puppet warp. And here I like to start with locking down a couple points, because I don't want it to move a lot down here. So I'll just lock a few points in so it doesn't move down here. And then I also like to not show the mesh, so to just look at the pixels to see what's going on. So let's try and give this little more of a bend. Straighten that out a little bit. Maybe some more. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, let's go for that. So I've got the original flower and here's my new one. So I'll just, on the layer behind, I'll just quickly get rid of what we're seeing of the other flower. And again, I'm changing the background, so I don't really need to worry about how this is looking for now. Okay, so I'll flatten this down. And another thing is I want to make the flower have like a closer, like it's really onto the paper. So let's try and see if we can push this down a little bit. Cut that out. Maybe like that. So I've moved this piece down. Now I'll put a mask on it and paint it in like this. And now looks like it's more like attached to the surface. We get a bit of repetition here, but I could go back with the brush and fix that. But I think this looks pretty good. Yep, let's go with that. Okay, so I've cleaned everything up. And it's time to create a mask for the object so that I can put a new background behind it. So I'll go ahead and put this layer into a group. Let's call that object. And since the lines are so straight and the colors are different, I figure that the magic wand tool should probably do a pretty good job with this, right? Selecting everything. Looks like it's doing a good job. Quick mask, just check. Yeah, it's doing a really good job with this. So I don't have to like manually use the pen tool or whatever to go over it. So I'll just use this, and in this, I'm pressing Q just to go to quick select, which shows me what's selected and not, just to get a feel of like, is the mask gonna be okay? And I think for this is absolutely enough. And here I'll just use my brush to paint this out. So we got a good selection. This is a selection of the background, so I'll invert that so the object is selected. I'll put a little bit of feathering on that selection, and on my object create that mask. So if I turn off the background, you can see this is our object. Okay, so let's bring in the background I shot. I did shoot 2 backgrounds, one slightly out of focus and one completely out of focus. I'll bring both of them in so we can see the difference. So we got this one and this one. Let's put them. I'll put them underneath my object in a separate folder. Let's call that BG for background. So here are. This is the first background, which has, it's slightly out of focus. It has this paper structure creating this, and here, let's see, this is the other one where I brought it completely out of focus to give me a really smooth and nice background. So here's the difference between those two, and I feel that I'm gonna go with the really smooth one. So I'll just get rid of that. So, neat and clean structure. I got my original background, I got my new background layer, and I have my object in here. And I really like to work this way, having everything in total control, because what this allows me, like if I want to move my object, I can do that without affecting the background. I can, if I want to like do adjustments to the background, I can very easily do that without affecting the object, and of course the other way around. Let's leave it for now. This background is now so smooth that when I later on will want to make this into a JPEG or something, I think that it will mess with these gradients. So I will add a bit of noise to this background, which will help keep it looking really nice. So I'll create a new layer in soft light. I'll fill it with gray. Can't see it now because the blend mode is soft light, and I will add some noise to this. Usually somewhere around like 1 to up to 10. And I like doing this in a separately. I mean, you could do this on the actual pixels, but this gives me more control. I can change my mind. I can like get rid of it and do it again or whatever. But if I do it directly to the pixels, I'm stuck with it. So I don't know, maybe 5, maybe 6, and it's a bit harsh, so I'll give it a bit of a blur. Like 0.6 maybe. So if you just look at the background, the original has this structure, and now I replaced it with this, but I've added a little bit of structure, and that is mostly to help with gradients. Okay, so we got our background, we got our object, and I think I'm pretty much happy with pixels. So let's move on to like contrast and grade and getting a nice finish on this. So I'll create a new folder on top. Let's call that grade. And let's start with adding some contrast. So I'll add a curve, and let's just make it a simple S curve. See? Nice. A lot more pop. The colors are coming through nicely. I think I like that. And I mean, you could be done here. Really. There's it's looking good. But I also like to play around with color grading, and there's a million ways to color grade an image. I like to try. I like to put a curve on it and go into the color curves, and just grab them and see what happens. Maybe zoom out a little. If I kind of like this. Helps separate them a little bit. I like how the background gets a little bluer. Yeah, that looks nice. And of course, if I wanted to, if I wanted to make like just the background bluer, I could go into my background, and here I could like do use sat and just start playing around with the color. You can go any direction you want, really. So, and I kind of like it going a little more towards the blue. It helps like bring out this nice pink shape. So I think I'm gonna leave it here. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I will show you. Here's my neat layer structure. Got my background, my object, my grade. Everything nice in folders, which I really like. I'll show you the before and after. So here's our before and after. Before and after. All right, that's it. We are done. Nice flower on a paper thing. I don't know what we'll call this, but I hope you liked that. A little more before and after. Yep. All right. And if you enjoyed this, if you found this helpful, please follow our channel, like this video, and I will see you next time.